Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtavrayeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 8, Lord Krishna shows the universal form within his mouth. Text 45 onwards. Traya chopnishadbhischa sankhya yogeshcha satvate upagiye man mahatmyam harim samanyatatmajam. The glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are studied through the three Vedas, the Upanishads, the literature of Sankhya Yoga, and other Vaishnava literature. Yet Mother Yashoda considered that Supreme Person her ordinary child. So earlier we saw how Mother Yashoda was thinking in terms of renunciation. How can I say he's this, he's that? And then Krishna thought, oh, it's going in the wrong direction. So he ordered Yogamaya, cover Mother Yashoda. And now she is thinking, oh, he is my ordinary child. As stated in Bhagavad Gita by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the purpose of studying the Vedas is to understand him. Vedasya sarve aham eva vedya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Sanatana Goswami that there are three purposes in the Vedas. One is to understand our relationship with Krishna, Sambandha. Another is to act according to that relationship, Abhideya. And the third is to reach the ultimate goal, Prayojana. The word Prayojana means necessities, and the ultimate necessity is explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prema Pumartho Maha. The greatest necessity for a human being is the achievement of love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here we see that Mother Yashoda is on the highest stage of necessity, for she is completely absorbed in love for Krishna. So this in Vedas, this is what Sanatana Goswami has explained, or Mahaprabhu explained to Sanatana Goswami. There are three purposes: Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. Sambandha is to understand our relationship, that is self-realization. Abhideya, to act, that is a devotional service. And Prayojana, or the ultimate goal, is to achieve love of God. So Mother Yashoda is probably on the highest stage of necessity. She is a perfection of Vatsalya Prema. In the beginning, the Vedic purpose is pursued in three ways: by Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. When one reaches a complete perfect stage of Upasana Kanda, one comes to worship Narayan or Lord Vishnu. When Parvati asked Lord Mahadev, Lord Shiva, what is the best method of Upasana or worship? Lord Shiva answered, Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param. Vishnu Upasana or Vishnu Aradhana, worship of Lord Vishnu, is the highest stage of perfection, as realized by Devaki. But here Mother Yashoda performs no Upasana, for she has developed transcendental, ecstatic love for Krishna. Therefore, her position is better than that of Devaki. In order to show this, Srila Vyasadeva enunciates this verse, Tareya Cho Upanishad B. So Mother Yashoda, her love, her absorption in Krishna is way beyond anybody else's. When a human being enters into the study of the Vedas to obtain Vidya, knowledge, he begins to take part in human civilization. Otherwise, he is not even human. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Then he advances further to study the Upanishads and gain Brahma Jnana, impersonal realization of the absolute truth. And then he advances still further to Sankhya Yoga in order to understand the Supreme Controller, who is indicated in the Bhagavad Gita, Param Brahma. When one understands that Purusha, the Supreme Controller, to be Paramatma, one is engaged in the method of yoga. So, by Prabhupada's mercy, we are coming straight from, I don't know how much Karma Kanda we must have done, straight from that into Bhakti Yoga. But Mother Yashoda has surpassed all these stages. She has come to the platform of loving Krishna as a beloved child. And therefore she is accepted to be on the highest stage of spiritual realization. Absolute truth is realized in three features, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagwan. But she is in such ecstasy that she does not care to understand what is Brahman, what is Paramatma, or what is Bhagwan. Bhagwan has personally descended to become her beloved child. Therefore, there is no comparison to Mother Yashoda's good fortune, as declared by Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ramya Kachit Upasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Yakalpipa. The absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, may be realized in different stages. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Ye Yatha Mam Prapadyante. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. O son of Pritha. One may be a karmi, a jnani, a yogi, and then a bhakta or prema bhakta. But the ultimate stage of realization is prema bhakti, as actually demonstrated by Mother Yashoda. So this is, Mother Yashoda is at that high stage. So only Yog Maya could cover her. And then she started thinking of her little baby Krishna, forgot about whatever she saw in her mouth. Shri Rajavacha, Nanda Kim Karod Brahman, Shreya Eva Mahodaya, Yashoda Cha Mahabhaga, Papau Yasya Stanam Mahari. Having heard of the great fortune of Mother Yashoda, Parikshit Maharaj inquired from Shukdev Goswami. O learned Brahman, Mother Yashoda's breast milk was sucked by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What past auspicious activities did she and Nand Maharaj perform to achieve such perfection in ecstatic love? That is perfection, actually, what Mother Yashoda has for Krishna. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvida Vayante. Without Sukriti of pious activities, no one can come to the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is approached by four kinds of pious men, but here we see that Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda surpassed all of them. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj naturally inquired what kind of pious activities did they perform in their past lives by which they achieved such a stage of perfection. Of course, Nand Maharaj and Yashoda are accepted as a father and mother of Krishna. Yet Mother Yashoda was more fortunate than Nand Maharaj, Krishna's father, because Nand Maharaj was sometimes separated from Krishna, whereas Yashoda, Krishna's mother, was not separated from Krishna at any moment. From Krishna's babyhood to his childhood and from his childhood to his youth, Mother Yashoda was always in association with Krishna. Even when Krishna was grown up, he would go to Vrindavan and sit on the lap of Mother Yashoda. Therefore, there is no comparison to the fortune of Mother Yashoda. And Parikshit Maharaj naturally inquired, Yashoda cha Mahabhaga. She is so fortunate that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is drinking milk from her breast. What did she do? What austerities did she perform? Of course, Yashoda, Maya, Nanda Maharaj, they are eternal parents of Krishna. But sometimes in material world, they perform some pastimes. Otherwise, they are eternal parents. Pitru Nanva Vinde Tam Krishno Dararbhake Hitam Gayanti Adyapi Kaveyo Yallokasham Lapaham. Although Krishna was so pleased with Vasudeva and Devaki that he descended as his son, they could not enjoy Krishna's magnanimous childhood pastimes, which are so great that simply chanting about them vanquishes the contamination of the material world. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, however, enjoyed these pastimes fully, and therefore their position is always better than that of Vasudeva and Devaki. Krishna actually took birth from the womb of Devaki, but just after his birth, he was transferred to the home of Mother Yashoda. Devaki could not even have Krishna suck her breast. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj was astonished. How had Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj become so fortunate that they enjoyed the complete childhood pastimes of Krishna, which are still glorified by saintly persons? What had they done in the past by which they were elevated to such an exalted position? Shri Shukuvacha, Drono Vasunam Pravaro Dharya Bharyaya Saha Karishyamana Adeshan Brahmanastam Uvachaha. Shukdev Goswami said, to follow the orders of Lord Brahma, Drona, the best of the Vasus, along with his wife Dhara, spoke to Lord Brahma in this way. So Vasudev and Devaki, they were Sutapa and I forgot what was Devaki's name. Sutapa was the drone, or Sutapa was now here, Drone and his wife Dhara, they performed austerities. When Krishna descends anywhere, he is accompanied by his own associates. These associates are not ordinary living beings. Krishna's pastimes are eternal, and when he descends, he comes with his associates. Therefore, Nanda and Mother Yashoda are the eternal father and mother of Krishna. This means that whenever Krishna descends, Nanda and Yashoda as well as Vasudeva and Devaki also descend as the Lord's father and mother. Their personalities are expansions of Krishna's personal body. They're not ordinary living beings. Maharaj Parikshit knew this, but he was curious to know from Shukdev Goswami whether it's possible for an ordinary human being to come to this stage by sadhana siddhi. There are two kinds of perfection, Nitya Siddhi and Sadhana Siddhi. A Nitya Siddha is one who is eternally Krishna's associate, an expansion of Krishna's personal body. Whereas a Sadhana Siddha is an ordinary human being who, by executing pious activities and following the regulative principles of devotion service, also comes to that stage. Thus, the purpose of Maharaj Parikshit's inquiry was to determine whether an ordinary human being can attain the position of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Shukdev Goswami answered this question as follows. So there are Nitya Siddhas, even in Nitya Siddha, when we come to Nectar of Devotion, we'll study there in different kinds of Nitya Siddhas. Now, Yashoda Maya comes on a different level. And we are fallen souls, obviously. We are here in the material world, struggling with our senses. So at the most, when we come to perfection, we can be Sadhana Siddha. And even in Sadhana Siddha, will be mostly Kripa Siddha, by mercy of Prabhupada and Krishna and Acharyas. And when we go back, obviously, we are not going to become Mother Yashoda or Nanda Maharaj. That's only one. Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Maya, that position is taken. All we can become is an associate, a servant of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, if we are in parental mode. Or servant of Devaki and Vasudeva, if we are in that kind of mode. So that depends, whatever position is. But first, we have to do our sadhana properly. But Shukdev Goswami is further speaking. Jati yorno mahadeve bhuvi vishveshware haro bhakti syat parama loke yayanju durgatim taret. Drona and Dhara said, please permit us to be born on the planet Earth so that after our appearance, the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller and Master of all planets, will also appear and spread devotional service, the ultimate goal of life. Thus, those born in this material world may very easily be delivered from the miserable condition of materialistic life by accepting this devotional service. This statement by Drona clearly indicates that Drona and Dhara are the eternal father and mother of Krishna. Whenever there is a necessity of Krishna's appearance, Drona and Dhara appear first, and then Krishna appears. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that his birth is not ordinary. Janma karma chame divyam. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, by my internal energy I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Before Krishna's appearance, Drona and Dhara appear in order to become his father and mother. It is they who appear as Nanda Maharaj and his wife Yashoda. In other words, It's not possible for a sadhana siddha living being to become the father or mother of Krishna. But Krishna's father and mother are already designated. But by following the principles exhibited by Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda and their associates, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, ordinary living beings may attain such affection as exhibited by Nanda and Yashoda. So Prabhupada is making it clear. And forget about Mayavadis who think we're going to become Krishna. But we are God. We're not even parents of God. When Drona and Dhara were requested to beget children, they chose to come to this world to have the supreme personality of Godhead as his son, Krishna. Krishna's appearance means Paritrana sadhunam vinashaya dushkritam. The devotees are protected and the miscreants are vanquished. Whenever Krishna comes, he distributes the highest goal of life, devotion service. He appears as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the same purpose, because unless one comes to devotion service, one cannot be delivered from the miseries of the material world. Dukkhalyam shashvatam, where the living beings struggle for existence. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Mammevansho jiva loke. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Because of conditioned life, they're struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. The living entities are struggling to become happy, but unless they take to the cult, their happiness is not possible. So Krishna clearly says those who are not faithful on the path of devotion service cannot attain a conqueror of foes, but return to birth and death in this material world. So Krishna comes, Krishna plays his beautiful pastimes just to attract us. Why you're struggling in this material world, struggling hard with the six senses, which includes the mind. He said, just develop faith in me. And those who don't have faith, they carry on with birth and death in this material world. Foolish persons do not know how risky life is here if one does not follow the instructions of Krishna. The Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, has been started so that by practicing Krishna consciousness, one can avoid the risky life of this material existence. There is no question of accepting or not accepting Krishna consciousness. It's not optional, it's compulsory. If we do not take to Krishna consciousness, our life is very risky. Very, very risky. Padam padam cha vipatam. Every step there is danger. Everything is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, to learn how to become free from the miserable condition of material existence, Bhagavad Gita as it is a preliminary study. Then if one understands Bhagavad Gita, one can proceed to Srimad Bhagavatam. And if one advances further, one may study the Chaitanya Charita. We are therefore presenting these invaluable books to the whole world so that people may study them and be happy, being delivered from miserable conditional life. So Prabhupada's mercy, we did complete Bhagavad Gita. Of course, we don't remember anything from Bhagavad Gita, but now we are trying to complete Srimad Bhagavatam. And learning from it how to perform devotional service and beautiful pastimes of Krishna we can witness from these books. Asitva yukta sa bhagavan braje drono mahayasha jagya nanditi khyatu yashoda sadhara bhavat. When Brahma said, yes, let it be so, the most fortunate Drona, who was equal to Bhagavan, appeared in Vrajapura, Vrindavan, as the most famous Nanda Maharaj, and his wife Dhara appeared as Mother Yashoda. Because whenever Krishna appears on this earth, he superficially needs his father and mother, Drona and Dhara. His eternal father and mother appeared on earth before Krishna as Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. In contrast to Sutapa and Prishni Garba, they did not undergo severe penances and austerities to become the father and mother of Krishna. This is the difference between Nitya Siddha and Sadhana Siddha. ततो भक्तिर भगवती पुत्री भूते जनार्दने दंपत्योर नितरामासीत गोप गोपीषु भारत. Thereafter, Maharaj Parikshit, best of the Bharats, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead became the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, they maintained continuous, unswerving devotional love and parental affection. And in their association, all the other inhabitants of Vrindavan, the Gopas and Gopis, developed a culture of Krishna Bhakti. Although when the Supreme Personality of Godhead stole the butter, yogurt, and milk of the neighboring Gopas and Gopis, this teasing superficially seemed troublesome. In fact, it was an exchange of affection and the ecstasy of devotion service. The more the Gopas and Gopis exchanged feelings with the Lord, the more their devotion service increased. Sometimes we may superficially see that a devotee is in difficulty because of being engaged in devotion service, but the fact is different. When a devotee suffers for Krishna, that suffering is a transcendental enjoyment. Unless one becomes a devotee, this cannot be understood. When Krishna exhibited his childhood pastimes, not only did Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda increase their devotional affection, but those in their association are also increased in devotion service. In other words, persons who follow the activities of Vrindavan will also develop devotion service in the highest perfection. So Prabhupada, so much suffering. Well, again, as Prabhupada is explaining, this is all superficial. Sufferings he went through coming to America by Jalduta and having 3 heart attacks on the way. But he still came. 40 days it took him. Seasickness, vomiting, and he was alone. 69-year-old man coming by ship to America to preach. And even here, it wasn't like there were hundreds of devotees waiting for him to get down and they would take him to temple. Nothing was there. Then he got down from the ship and then he was on the bus to go to another city, Butler, Pennsylvania. And then struggle one after the other. And he got sick also. He had paralysis attacks. He had health issues. And so many things. But he kept on traveling, kept on preaching, kept on pushing his disciples to do more and more and more, and kept on taking court cases, so many other headaches. We never gave up. And this is what he says, the suffering is transcendental enjoyment. And then he says, unless one becomes a devotee, this cannot be understood. This is the beauty of it. That superficially it looks like it's suffering. Why are you suffering so much? Devotees, even in cold weather, they get up early and go for Mangla Harti. And people don't understand what kind of fun do you get? The fasting on Ekadashi, especially when it's Nirjala Ekadashi. And so many people have told me personally, why God doesn't want you to eat. God gets pleasure if you stay hungry. No, but this is for my purification. It's nothing to do with God that He likes it or not. I want to do it. But they don't understand. On Krishna Janmashtami, when we fast till midnight, oh, it's God's birthday, Krishna's birthday. You're not going to celebrate his birthday by having some cake or something? Why you have to fast until midnight? But there's so much of fun in this. So this is all superficial. But this brings us closer to Krishna, because Krishna sees that we are making an attempt for his pleasure. This fasting is for his pleasure, chanting is for his pleasure, any service is for his pleasure. anything that we do. And his pleasure means it's not like we are suffering. We are also enjoying by seeing him happy. And in the end, this purifies our consciousness. I remember when in Delhi we were preaching, and first time Nirjala Ekadashi came, and I asked everybody to chant at least 64 rounds. And there was pretty much everybody in the class, they had either never observed Nirjala or never did 64 rounds. And they said, Prabhuji, how are we going to do it? It's not possible. We'll be thirsty and this. I said, if you get thirsty, drink, but I'm pretty sure you will not be thirsty. You just keep on chanting. And next day, if you could see the scores of everybody chanted many more rounds than 64 because they enjoyed. It was so much a pleasure. Never felt thirsty or hungry. There is pleasure. And nobody is forcing anybody. It's all coming from inside. That's the beauty of devotion. Krishna Brahman Adesham Satyam Kartam Vraja Vibhu Saharamo Vasan Chakre Tesham Pritin Svalilaya. Thus the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, along with Balram, lived in Brajabhumi, Vrindavan, just to substantiate the benediction of Brahma. By exhibiting different pastimes in his childhood, increased the transcendental pleasure of Nanda and the other inhabitants of Vrindavan. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of 10th canto, 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Krishna shows a universal form within his mouth. So tomorrow we'll start a new chapter. Mother Yashoda binds Lord Krishna. Damodar Leela is coming up. So I guess we'll stop here. See, anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, see you all. Have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.